The Crash of '29, a day that lives in infamy. October 29, 1929, a date forever etched in American history. The stock market crashed, marking the beginning of the Great Depression. Black Tuesday, when the bottom fell out of the market, millions of shares traded, prices plummeted, and panic gripped Wall Street. The crash sent shockwaves throughout the American economy. It was a day that would forever alter history. The seeds of the Great Depression were sown in the seemingly prosperous decade that preceded it, the Roaring Twenties. The decade witnessed a surge in industrial production, technological innovation, and consumer spending. However, beneath the veneer of prosperity lay several underlying weaknesses that would ultimately contribute to the economic collapse. One such weakness was the overextension of credit. The widespread availability of easy credit allowed consumers to purchase goods and services on installment plans. While this fueled economic growth in the short term, it also led to high levels of personal debt. When the economy began to slow, many consumers found themselves unable to meet their debt obligations. Another contributing factor was the agricultural depression that plagued the countryside throughout the 1920s. Overproduction and falling crop prices left many farmers struggling to make ends meet. This agrarian crisis, often overlooked in the shadow of urban prosperity, played a significant role in weakening the overall economy. The stock market boom of the late 1920s, fueled by speculation and margin buying, further exacerbated the situation. Investors poured money into the market, driving up stock prices to unsustainable levels. When the bubble burst, the consequences were devastating. As if the economic crisis wasn't enough, a natural disaster of epic proportions struck the American heartland in the 1930s, the Dust Bowl. This ecological catastrophe, characterized by severe dust storms and agricultural devastation, added another layer of misery to the already bleak landscape of the Great Depression. The Dust Bowl was caused by a combination of factors, including prolonged drought, unsustainable farming practices, and strong winds. Years of intensive agriculture had depleted the topsoil, leaving it vulnerable to erosion. When the drought hit, the exposed soil turned to dust, which was then swept up by powerful winds into massive dust storms that blackened the skies for days. The Dust Bowl had a devastating impact on the Great Plains region. Crops were destroyed, livestock perished, and families were forced to flee their homes in search of a better life. Many of these Okies, as they were called, migrated westward to California, only to face further hardship and discrimination. The Dust Bowl served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of human society and the natural environment. It highlighted the importance of sustainable land management practices and the need to respect the delicate balance of nature. The Great Depression's grip on America was relentless. Unemployment skyrocketed, reaching a staggering 25% by 1933. Millions of Americans found themselves out of work, their lives turned upside down. Breadlines, soup kitchens, and homeless encampments became common sights in cities across the country. Poverty became widespread, affecting families from all walks of life. People who had once enjoyed a comfortable standard of living were reduced to scraping by. Malnutrition and disease became serious concerns as families struggled to put food on the table. The psychological toll of the Depression was immense, leading to widespread despair, hopelessness, and social unrest. The traditional support systems of family and community were strained to the breaking point as people struggled to cope with the overwhelming challenges of the Depression. The American dream, once a beacon of hope for millions, seemed to slip out of reach for many. Section 5, Global Impact, A World in Crisis. The Great Depression was not just an American crisis, it was a global catastrophe. The interconnected nature of the global economy meant that the economic downturn in the United States had a ripple effect around the world. International trade plummeted, as did commodity prices, throwing many countries into economic turmoil. Germany, still reeling from its defeat in World War I, was hit particularly hard by the Depression. The collapse of the German economy contributed to the rise of extremist political movements, most notably the Nazi Party. The Nazis exploited the widespread economic hardship and social unrest to gain power, ultimately leading to the outbreak of World War II. The Great Depression had a profound impact on global politics and international relations. It led to the rise of protectionist trade policies as countries sought to shield their own economies from the global downturn. This, in turn, exacerbated the economic crisis and contributed to international tensions. Section 6, President Hoover's response, a nation divided. As the Great Depression deepened, President Hoover faced mounting pressure to address the crisis. However, these measures proved largely ineffective in stemming the economic freefall. As the crisis worsened, Hoover's popularity plummeted. The public's perception of Hoover's response was further tarnished by the government's handling of the Bonus Army incident in 1932. His failure to effectively address the crisis paved the way for the election of Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1932. Section 7, the New Deal, FDR's ambitious plan. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal was a series of programs and reforms designed to address the Great Depression. The New Deal aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform to the American economy and society. It was a radical departure from the laissez-faire economic policies that had dominated American politics for decades. The New Deal encompassed a wide range of initiatives, including public works projects, financial regulations, social welfare programs, and agricultural reforms. Some of the most notable New Deal programs included the Civilian Conservation Corps, the Works Progress Administration, the Social Security Act, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. The New Deal was not without its critics. Conservatives argued that it expanded the role of government too far, while some liberals believed it did not go far enough in addressing the root causes of the Depression. Nevertheless, the New Deal had a profound impact on American society, laying the foundation for the modern welfare state. Section 8. Key figures of the era, leaders and innovators. Franklin Delano Roosevelt emerged as a beacon of hope with his New Deal programs. Eleanor Roosevelt championed social justice and human rights. Dorothea Lange's photographs captured the human face of the Depression. John Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes of Wrath, voiced the struggles of ordinary Americans. Section 9. The Slow Climb to Recovery, a Glimmer of Hope. The road to recovery from the Great Depression was long and arduous. The New Deal provided some measure of relief, but it was not a magic bullet. The economy remained fragile throughout the 1930s, with unemployment remaining stubbornly high. World War II proved to be the catalyst for America's full economic recovery. The massive mobilization of resources for the war effort created millions of new jobs, boosting industrial production and pulling the country out of the Depression. The war also led to significant technological advancements that would have a lasting impact on the American economy. By the end of the 1940s, the United States had emerged from the Great Depression as a global superpower. The war had transformed the country's economic landscape, ushering in an era of unprecedented prosperity. However, the scars of the Depression ran deep, leaving an enduring legacy on American society. Section 10. The Legacy of the Great Depression, Shaping a Nation. The Great Depression left an indelible mark on American society, shaping its values, institutions, and outlook for generations to come. The crisis led to a fundamental rethinking of the role of government in the economy and society. The New Deal, despite its limitations, established the principle that the federal government had a responsibility to provide a safety net for its citizens. Programs like Social Security, unemployment insurance, and deposit insurance became cornerstones of the American welfare state, providing a measure of security in times of economic hardship. The Great Depression also had a profound impact on American culture. The Dust Bowl and the plight of migrant workers inspired a generation of artists, writers, and musicians. The era's hardships fostered a sense of community and solidarity as people came together to support one another in times of need. Section 11. Echoes of the Past, Lessons for the Future. The Great Depression, though a painful chapter in American history, offers valuable lessons for the present and the future. It serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of economic systems and the importance of sound economic policies. The crisis highlighted the dangers of unchecked speculation, overextension of credit, and income inequality. It also underscored the need for government regulation to prevent market excesses and protect consumers from predatory lending practices. The Great Depression taught us that economic hardship can have devastating social and political consequences. It showed us that widespread unemployment and poverty can erode social cohesion, fuel extremism, and undermine democratic institutions. The lessons of the Great Depression remain as relevant today as they were nearly a century ago. By understanding the causes and consequences of this historical crisis, we can better equip ourselves to navigate the economic challenges of the 21st century and build a more just and equitable society for all.